Hello, NRF community. I'm very happy to be here today with you. My name is Nuno Pedro. I'm the Global Head of Commerce at SAP. And I'm here today to discuss with you and to give you a little bit more insights about the different trends that we're seeing in the world today, the pandemic, consumer behaviors changing, and to learn more about that from both a research and thought leadership perspective, as well as from a companies and what they're doing about it perspective. So we'll start by talking with Melanie Noronha. She's the senior editor at The Economist Intelligence Business Unit. And I mean, they have recently published a research around changes in consumer behavior. So we'll learn more about that by talking with her. Hello, Melanie. Happy to have you here. I hope you're doing well.
I am. Thank you, Nuno, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good. So, Melanie, tell us a bit more about yourself, your role. Let's start there, okay?
Fantastic. So, as you mentioned, I'm a senior editor with the Economist Intelligence Unit's Public Policy and Thought Leadership Division. We're actually a newly formed division that brings together the robust quantitative capabilities of our consulting team, along with the content creation capabilities of our thought leadership team. We create really exciting research across a range of sectors that really inform business decisions and policy making. So I'm pleased to be able to share some of the key findings and tell you a little bit more about the research that we've just recently published.
Super. So tell us a bit more about that research, Melanie. So it's a very comprehensive report. I mean, you guys interviewed a lot of people over different geographies, but tell us a little bit more about the background, the methodology used, and all of that.
Absolutely. So the Economist Intelligence Unit recently published some research that was supported by SAP, and it focuses on the changes to consumer behavior and spending patterns since the start of the coronavirus pandemic. The research is based on a survey of consumers conducted across 5 countries. That's the US, UK, Germany, Italy, and Spain. And as part of this research, we developed a data model that allows us to analyze the changes to spending patterns by product category, by channel, that's online and in store, but most interestingly, by generational cohort. And that includes baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z. All of the findings, and there are many findings, they're presented in an array of reports, including an executive summary, country reports that are really deep dives into the unique narrative of each country, as well as two industry reports, which look at the profound impact of all of these consumer behavioral changes on the consumer brands and retail sectors. So it's been it's a comprehensive set of reports with a lot of insights. And in fact, in the coming weeks, we'll also be publishing an online tool that will allow users to explore the data by product, by country, and by generational cohort. So it's all very exciting, Nuno.
Okay, super. And then, Melanie, tell us a little bit more about what from your perspective are the key findings. So for all of the people out there that maybe don't have the time or the access to read the whole report, so what are the gold nuggets that people should be aware about this shift in consumer behavior? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So overall, from our research, we've seen that monthly expenditure reported by consumers we surveyed actually dropped by 9% if you're comparing during the pandemic to before the start of the pandemic. But in fact, online spending increased by 15%. Now, millennials definitely dominate online spending. But what was so interesting in our survey and our research is that we found that it is baby boomers who have demonstrated the biggest shift to online spending since the start of the pandemic. And in fact, their online spending as a percentage of total spending increased from 25% to 37%. And this was followed by Gen X, who increased their online spending share from 39% to 47%. There are quite a few interesting differences between countries as well. For instance, in Spain, we're seeing that Gen X respondents are actually spending the most online, which makes sense given the high youth unemployment that we're seeing in Spain that we've seen over the past few years. But I think overall, concerns about safety have surely or in part contributed to this move to online spending. But it's exciting to see that consumers also recognize that convenience factor of online shopping, that ability to shop anywhere at any time. And we found that particularly exciting. I think overall during the pandemic, online shopping for essential products such as groceries and cleaning supplies have been more deeply entrenched. You're seeing a surge in online spending for those items. But there's also a growing usage of online shopping channels for non-essentials, goods that are typically bought in store, such as clothing and consumer electronics, where possibly the need to assess the look and feel is quite important in store. So we're seeing a growth of that product segment online too. So quite a few interesting changes during the pandemic.
Okay, super. Thank you for that, Melanie. So I mean, I guess with this shifting pattern, right? So more online, even though the total size of the pie has in fact shrunk a little bit. So can you maybe comment on whether this is just a glitch in consumer behavior, or is this trend for people to buy online, is it here to stay?
So our research shows that once restrictions ease, new online shopping behaviors look likely to continue, particularly for the younger cohorts, that's for millennials and for Gen Z, but are less likely to persist for the older cohorts, that's baby boomers and Gen X. We're seeing that the online spending as a share of total spending is expected to decrease by 9 and 6 percentage points for baby boomers and Gen X, and only about 4 percentage points for millennials and Gen Z, because once restrictions ease, you will to some extent see some return back in store. And the reasons for this, particularly with the older cohort, is the higher value that they place on this ability to bring products home right away. Across cohorts, you're seeing that the consumers do value the need to assess the look and feel of products. So that's what's driving people back in store to a certain extent. But if we take a step back and look at the bigger picture, our research shows that more than 6 out of 10 respondents, so that's about 61% of respondents, they indicate that they will maintain some of their new online shopping habits even after the pandemic ends. And you're seeing the highest shares of this, of course, among the younger cohorts, among millennials and Gen Z. But the majority of consumers among the older cohorts also agree with this. And so you're seeing about 60% of Gen X and 55% of baby boomers also feel that they will maintain their new online shopping habits even after the pandemic ends. And I think this is because consumers do recognize the convenience of online shopping, that ability to shop anywhere at any time. And they've also acknowledged that it saves them time overall. So that's quite exciting. And I think bringing together the reasons to go back in store versus the features of online shopping that they prefer, this is really, in a way, ushering a new era of omni-channel shopping. So we're seeing that there's now a seamless shopping experience between online and offline channels. So for instance, a consumer could go in store and discover a product in store and then place the order online, or they could discover online, but then go in store to test and trial products and then purchase in store. So it's definitely quite a profound change. And I think what you're seeing then is that there's a profound impact on strategy and operations for consumer brands and for retailers as the result of all of these changes. But Nuno, you're on the front lines of this, engaging with businesses throughout the pandemic. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, the SAP perspective, on what all of these changes in consumer behavior that we've identified through our research, what that means for consumer brands and retailers.
Yeah, I mean, I think the words frontline describe it very well. I mean, with this surge of customers into online channels, we have experienced over Cyber Week really a huge increase in total number of visits, orders, and GMV going through the platform. And we have achieved that without one single downtime for any customer. So I think having a very robust and scalable platform is key for all customers. Secondly, I think that the second trend that we're observing is the rise of modular commerce, right? So really the fulfillment of headless, but across many different store front ends. So companies need to be ready to embark on a journey to really transform their back end and front end, and being able to create swiftly, quickly, multiple store front ends. And I think with SAP, we allow, with our suite, our customer experience suite, we allow exactly for that to happen. With our customer data platform, with the recently acquisition of Immersis, and with Commerce Cloud, I think those three things combined really allow our customers to have a cutting edge solution. Lastly, I think echoing your words, Melanie, about the omni-channel nature of commerce nowadays, I think there's a very important connection to make between the back end and the front end. So being able to stitch together the consumer journey between consumer buying and ordering online and the fulfillment and delivery of that order, as well as the manufacturing, the planning, the inventory management. So connecting all those dots, it's really of paramount importance for all companies. And I think SAP is positioned in a unique way to secure that. With that said, Melanie, I really want to thank you for your time. You gave us a lot of perspective, a lot of insights. Are there any final remarks that you want to share with the audience?
No, just that there's a lot to discover in all of our research, and I do encourage the audience to please access our website or the SAP website and explore the research. There's much to be gained, and I think it's all quite exciting, the changes that are taking place in the industry.
Thank you, Melanie. Thank you for your time. So it has been great to learn more from Melanie on consumer behavioral shifts and new patterns emerging. But I also think that we should learn from companies on how they are adjusting and adapting to that. In order to learn more, we'll talk with Rob Wood from The Entertainers. The Entertainers are a UK-based company that sells toys, and they have the vision and ambition to change the retail toy selling world one child at a time. Let's look at the video and learn more from them.
At The Entertainer, our vision is to be the best loved toy store, one child at a time. To do that, we really need to understand our customers. We want parents to feel this is a place that their children can run around, get their hands on the products, and have a tantrum. When we relaunched the Entertainer website, we needed to make sure that the platform could cope with huge spikes in demand. That's especially challenging in toys, so we needed infrastructure that could scale. We offer 30-minute click and collect, and we needed to make that easier for customers so they were able to check availability at their local store and check out really quickly. We chose SAP Commerce Cloud because all of the key functionality was already included. Click and collect, built-in search engine, and the ability to manage product catalogs was really important to us, and we knew that SAP would be able to do that. What our e-commerce system allows us to do is to offer the same level of service wherever customers choose to shop. On a mobile phone, they can check stock availability at all of our 170 stores instantly. And when customers get into store, our store colleagues have tablets which they can use to check availability, not just at our central warehouse, but also at local stores. Offering 5-star service to our customers is absolutely vital. We use multi-channel technology to make sure that shopping with us is as convenient and easy as possible. So that's having a mobile responsive website, it's offering instant click and collect to customers, and it's having a really slick user journey online. If you're not offering that, you're not really in the game. We've worked with SAP for 7 years, and our e-commerce business has been on a huge trajectory of upward growth since we started. When we launched on SAP, we were a small e-commerce retailer. Since we launched the Entertainer onto SAP, we've grown our sales on the toyshop.com by a factor of 7 and been able to completely reduce our reliance on marketplaces.
Wow, that was really something, Rob. Again, hello, welcome. Very nice to have you here, Rob. Looking forward to this conversation. And maybe we can start by you talking a little bit more about Entertainer and give us the backstory of that amazing video that we have just seen.
Thanks, Nuno. So to introduce the Entertainer, we are a chain of traditional toy stores, so exactly the type of toy shop that you might imagine going into when you were a little child. We're one of the biggest chains in the UK. Our stores are on high streets or in shopping malls, and our customers primarily 5 to 6 to 7 to 8-year-olds who are coming in on a Saturday morning to spend their pocket money. There are 3 brands that are part of the Entertainer group. So there's the Entertainer itself, who sell branded toys like Lego and Star Wars and Barbie. We acquired a brand last year called the Early Learning Centre. They're another very well-known brand in the UK who specialise in toys for younger children, which really focus more on development and learning. And then we also acquired 2 years ago a brand called Addo in Spain, who sell a similar range of products to the Entertainer, but their stores are all based out in Spain. So across the group, we've got 170 stores in the UK, 50 in Spain with Addo, and then we've got about 400 toy stores worldwide through franchise. Most of those are a learning centre, but also some Entertainer stores as well. And they're located mostly in Europe and in Asia. My role at the Entertainer is head of online. So I look after e-commerce across the entire group. So the Entertainer, Early Learning Centre and Addo. My chief responsibilities are P&L, on-site journey, the tech that we work with, and digital marketing.
Thank you for that, Rob. What about the pandemic? So how has that affected your business? I mean, the world is a different place. Your business is evolving. So how are things working out for Entertainer there? So 2020 was an incredibly topsy-turvy year for the Entertainer. There were long periods where we had our stores closed. And so obviously for a group with 800 pieces of physical retail space, that was a huge challenge. But every time that we saw that the retail business affected by closures, we saw an immediate rocketing in demand for online and for click and collect. And we're very fortunate that we've invested in multi-channel and in click and collect over the last few years. So we were actually in quite a good place to pick up on that demand. The initial challenge we had though with that that rocketing in e-commerce traffic was actually trying to keep up with fulfillment. The stores in the UK closed at the end of March, and we had an incredible period in April where we were essentially doing a week's sales every day. So we had about a 7 times uplift for those first 2 or 3 weeks of lockdown. And the challenge we had from an e-com point of view was just we physically couldn't get parcels through the warehouse and out the door quickly enough. So really what the kind of the pandemic, I guess, and what that period of lockdown, that initial period at the start of the spring taught us was that we needed to accelerate our, first of all, our fulfillment capacity, but then our investment in e-commerce.
So we invested very heavily in turning our DC, which serves our physical stores. We reconfigured that so we'd be able to use some of it or all of it as a fulfillment warehouse for e-commerce. And that's actually come in very handy over the last second half of 2020, where our stores were closed in November again, and e-commerce demand rocketed again. But because we're able to change our DC to fulfill online orders rather than send out deliveries to stores, we were actually able to keep up, and we actually had a much smoother period operationally than some of our competitors. The other things that we invested in the sort of the summer of 2020, so we invested in a new CRM system, which has helped us pull together our customer information across the different brands that we've acquired. So we've now got a much better picture of who our customers are and how they shop with us. We invested in Klarna, which is a buy now, pay later option, which is incredibly popular in Europe. And we had a lot of success with that because it allows customers to make that big purchase and then stagger the payments over 2 or 3 months. And that's been really important for us in actually increasing our average order value, because it encourages customers to go and spend a bit more with us. We relaunched our Spanish website for Addo, and we also found lots of new routes to market online. So we've worked with several of the big fashion brands in the UK. So retailers like Debenhams, Marks and Spencers, and Matalan, who are kind of big fashion department stores who've had some or no history of selling toys. We opened online concessions on all their websites, and that allowed us obviously to go and put our toys and our products and our great deals in front of a new group of customers. But it also meant that we didn't have to worry about the fulfillment operations side of it, because once we put our stock into the Marks and Spencers website, Marks and Spencers warehouse, it's them doing the e-fulfillment rather than us.
Okay. So it seems like you have had ups and downs, right? And it seems that e-commerce is definitely the channel where you're seeing a potential, fulfillment of drops that you have had in brick and mortar stores. But what's really then your plan to recovery? So what are you planning when things go back to normal? And what do you reckon the new normal is going to look like for you guys?
So that's a really good question, and if I knew the answer to that question, I would be doing a much more important job than running the website of The Entertainer. I think what we've learned from this year is that we can't predict what's going to happen, and our forecasting throughout 2020 was wrong all the time, and not just a little bit wrong. It was wrong by absolutely miles. So whenever we thought one particular thing was going to happen, it actually turned out that something different would happen. There was periods where we thought click and collect would absolutely go through the roof, and it didn't. There was times when we thought click and collect is dead, no one wants to go into the high street, and actually we had huge demand for it. So I think really what allowed us to kind of weather the storm in 2020 and come out of it in a reasonably good place is that we were able to be very agile and very flexible. And that's going to continue to be, I think, our kind of almost our guiding principle over the next 18 months is that, we can't afford to commit, all our eggs into one basket and go completely down one route, because we're just not sure that's the right route at the moment. So that flexibility and that agility is going to be absolutely key. Having said that, I think investing in our e-commerce was hugely fruitful in the back end of 2020, and absolutely we're going to carry on doing that again this year. Payment is hugely important in kind of the UK e-commerce landscape at the moment. Obviously I spoke about Klarna and buy now, pay later. I think what we're seeing is consumers are almost expecting a menu of choices now for buy now, pay later. So we're definitely going to be looking at that this year. The other thing that's hugely important to our physical retail spaces in our stores is click and collect, and click and collect is becoming a much more prominent part of our not just our e-commerce journey. I think probably in 2019, the way the click and collect journey worked was that you went to a website, picked your products, got to the basket, and then thought actually click and collect is
the most convenient way for me to go and collect the items. I think now the journey is almost, I need to go to the physical store to go and pick up some toys. What I need to do first of all is go online and check those items are there and purchase them. So I've got that confidence that when I'm going into the shop, it's not going to be a wasted trip. So it's kind of flipped that customer journey on its head. So again, making sure that our journey around click and collect is as clear and as easy and as hassle-free as it can be is absolutely vital for this year.
Okay, super. Thank you for that, Rob. So a lot of interesting insights. I mean, I think the shift to digital and to e-commerce is a reality nowadays. I couldn't agree more with your point around flexibility. Do you have, Rob, any additional departing words before we wrap it up?
Our focus absolutely this year is going to be that agility and being able to react to what's happening in the market. I think that's, like you said, that is the most important thing that we're going to be focusing on this year. It's going to be the absolute key to success this year. Is going to be able to react to what's happening in the market, react to the changes in consumer behaviour.
Again, thank you very much for your time, Rob. Very much appreciated. Lovely to learn more about the Entertainer, and we wish you all the best for the year ahead. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks very much.
I think we're coming to an end of this session, but before we wrap it up, I would like to share some conclusion and insights from my side as well. So first we talked with Melanie and we learned more about the shifts in consumer behavior and patterns. I think it's amazing to see that digital is really the way to go for consumers, and that actually companies need to adjust and adapt to that. We also learned from Rob that they are doing exactly that. So they are adjusting, they are looking at omni-channel models, they're looking at how can digital help their business. And we learned primarily that companies need to become nimble and flexible to quickly adjust and adapt. I think from an SAP perspective, we are very well positioned to handle these shifts in consumer behavior and to really help companies be successful in the commerce space, being through our Commerce Everywhere strategy, where we make available a headless commerce solution, connected with the customer data platform, connected with the marketing cloud solution. So we have a very comprehensive suite in customer experience to really help companies be successful in 21 as the world continues to change. With that said, I would like to wrap it up. Thanks a lot for your time. It has been a pleasure to be with you. Thank you and see you soon.